Hi everyone. So the next topic of climatology is global climatic factors. Now in the last lecture we studied about the climate elements of climate. These two things, they are completely different from each other. Students often intermix the elements and the climatic factors together. So today I'm gonna make sure that you don't get confused in both. So the elements of climate were temperature, that we studied in the last lecture: temperature, humidity, precipitation, wind. So elements of climate are something that we can measure, and it is variable, something that changes with time. And global factors are something that affects the overall climate of the place. Means the global factors are the factors which affect the elements of the climate. The elements of climate are dependent on the overall climatic factors. Let's discuss this with an example. The first global factor is latitude. Now, what is latitude? I think everyone knows the center of the earth is known as equator. Line here is Tropic of Cancer. Here is Tropic of Capricorn. And then we have North Pole, and then we have South Pole. We have one line here which is called Arctic Circle. Now, we have two things: longitude and latitude. Now, whenever we give a coordinate of a place, we usually write ABCD, comma, XYZ, like 1, 2, 3, 4 by 8, 9, 1, 0. So, if we have to define a place on Earth, we usually have geological coordinates, which are your longitude and latitude. Longitude is something in x-axis, and latitude is something in y-axis. So when we go away from the center of the Earth towards the x-axis, this is longitude, and when we go like this is your latitude. Now, basically, the distance of your coordinate from the equator is known as latitude. So, what's the influence of the latitude on the elements of climate? The regions which are near your equator, they will be hotter or maybe warmer, and the regions which are away from your equator, they will be colder. For example, North Pole and South Pole, you know that here we have snow almost for 4 to 6 months of an year, because this area receives very less of sunlight, and the areas which are near to your equator, they will get more of sun. That means more of heat, more of direct light. So latitude is basically the distance from your equator. And how is this impacting the element? The latitude is directly affecting the temperature of a place, right? And then also the humidity of the place. So that's how it is affecting the temperature. So what should we do as an architect if we know about the latitude of a place? So as an architect, you should consider shading devices that are to be used in these areas which are closer to the equator. And in the northern regions, the materials that in the North Pole or South Pole, the materials that you use should be insulated materials, so that the hot air could be kept inside your areas, so as to keep your room or a space warmer. So this is one of the factors that is affecting the element of climate directly. Now the next climatic factor is altitude. Now, what is altitude? Altitude is basically the height from the sea level. The upper portion is called ridge. So we know that the plains are usually have hotter climate, and when as we go up to the hills, the temperature is colder. That is why we have snow on the top of the mountains, on the top of the hills. It means the temperature is less here and the temperature is more here. So this means with the altitude, temperature drops as we go up. So as we go up, the temperature drops, and as we go down, the temperature starts rising up. So that's the impact of altitude on the temperature. Again, altitude is directly affecting the temperature of the place. So as an architect, what we have to do, we have to build the design thinking, taking in consideration the thermal insulation for the place. That is why in hills we mostly see houses which are made of wood, because they are good thermal insulators and they keep your houses warmer. On the other hand, in the plains, we try to use materials which are reflective and which do not absorb more of heat. Fine. So next climatic factor is distance from the sea. We have places like Mumbai which are tropical, the places which are near to the sea, they mostly have moderate climates, right? And why is that? Because the area which is nearer to the sea, they mostly have moist air, and if you have moist air, if you are living near the sea, you won't have much of hotness or much of coldness. You'll always have a moderate type of climate if you are living in a tropical area or if you are living near the sea. Now why this happens? Because usually it takes time for water to warm up as compared to the landform. And why is that? Because in the same region, if I have water and if I have landform and my sun rays are touching these surfaces directly, the landform will get hotter faster as compared to the water, because the molecules will take time to heat up in uh, in case of water. That is why the regions will not have much of summers or much of winters. They'll always have a average climate. So the areas which are near to the oceans, the temperature is milder, but the moisture level or humidity is more, because since it is near the sea. So near the sea, your air will be damp, the air will have more of water vapors, which means the temperature will be less and humidity will be more. So what is the architectural tip that we can use here? So coastal regions usually need dehumidifiers, which can take out the humidity from the air inside your spaces. So try to use certain materials or certain equipments and certain devices which can keep your uh, internal space free from humidity and moisture, so as to give you proper human and thermal comfort. Next type of climatic factor is topography. Topography, or you can say landform. Now by landform we mean either it can be a plateau, it can be a hill, or it can be plains. So usually these landforms can block your rains or winds, which can be in a positive way or in negative way depending on the type of region. These areas can, suppose if some area has more of wind which can destroy your houses, so in this case it will be positive if you build your home on the other side of the hill. But on the other hand, sometimes if you don't have much of air in your region and the wind is being stopped here, you won't get good air on this side or maybe good temperature. Even if you have water, if you have rainfall, this area can stop the rain and this area won't get the rain. So usually it depends on the type of area how these factors will affect. So at the time, for architectural tip for this factor is, at the time of site selection, you must consider how the climate is working there. Site selection should be done considering about the exposure to the sun and rainfall, and what is the wind direction. If in that place you want more of sun but the hill is stopping the sun from coming on this side, then you should not build your buildings on this side. Even these slopes help in giving us the drainage pipelines, the plumbing system. While at the time of site selection, you also have to think about the slope of the area, so that you can use natural slope for drainage rather than putting up angles to your pipes while installing the complete plumbing system. Next point is vegetation. Now, how vegetation can affect the climate. You might have heard that the areas which are dense or which have forest, they receive more of rainfall, right? Why does this happen? Uh, as compared to normal lands, if you just have trees and shrubs here, you will have rainfall more in the forest area. Now, why does it happen? Because this area is having more of moist air due to the presence of trees. uh, at the time of photosynthesis, these leaves are evaporating water through them, absorbing the water from the roots, and then this water is being evaporated through the leaves. If the waters are evaporated, then that means the air around the whole forest will be full of moisture, or maybe full of, you can say, humidity. More of humidity. As soon as temperature drops down a little bit, this water vapor will change into droplets, and hence rain will happen. So that's why vegetation helps a lot in determining your climate. If you have more of rainfall in that area, that means the temperature will drop down and you will always have pleasant weather in the area which has more trees. So yes, creating a microclimate always helps in giving you a drop down temperature. So as designers, we should always consider giving green buffers in our areas, which can reduce the temperature in the overall site. Also, we can have shaded areas to reduce heat. Green, obviously, putting up green elements will always help you naturally, giving shades. For example, if you have car parking which is in open, but if your car is parked below the tree, it will give a natural shade to it, and you won't have to construct a building or a roof or a temporary construction over it. The tree naturally will help in cleaning up the air. It will help in giving you the shade. This also helps in reducing pollution that is coming from the roads. It will also give you a buffer from noise. So vegetation in all aspects actually help your area. So yeah, this is one of the important aspects to create a moderate climate. And the last factor is human activities. Now, many of the activities that we do is actually harming our nature, which is indirectly leading to global warming. Everybody knows about it. The industrialization, the development, we are deforesting the trees, deforestation, then we are using more of fossil fuels, digging up everything. We are emitting so many greenhouse gases through so many devices. ACs are one of them, factories, industries. So this indirectly is leading to global warming. So as architects, it is our social and moral responsibility to use passive design techniques, to use sustainable materials, so that we can reduce the impact of all these things on our buildings. We can save energy, we can save natural resources, and efficient design will ultimately help in building up a good world. Yeah, so these were all of the key factors the climatic factors which affect the climate of a place. So human activities, vegetation, topography, distance from the sea, altitude and latitude, all these directly or indirectly affect the elements of the climate, which are temperature, humidity, and wind. These all are measurable and it varies from time to time, from place to place, but overall